I had a flare-up of gastroenteritis and kept feeling nauseous. Nolan said I was pregnant. I froze for a second, then told him to get lost. He said I was an Omega, he was an Alpha, and during my heat he had fully marked me, so now I must be pregnant, and he had to take responsibility. I told him he was crazy. Alpha, Beta, Omega, either he'd done too much homework or the exams had driven him insane. 1. When Nolan kissed me, I threw up again. I was pale as I leaned against the sink, and he looked at me with worry. He reached out and patted my back gently, trying to comfort me, but when I turned to look at his face, I vomited even worse. I didn't know why, but for the past 3 days, anytime he got close, I felt nauseous. Hugs made me vomit. Kisses made me vomit. Being in bed together, forget it. I refused to believe it until this time, when I pulled him in for a kiss. I almost threw up bile, and the symptom got even worse. Now just seeing his face made me sick. I believed it. It was that uncanny. I didn't hate Nolan. In fact, I could even say I liked him, in every sense, physically, emotionally, mentally, but I just couldn't help feeling sick. It was unbearable. I pushed Nolan away. Stay away from me. I'll feel a lot better. Even though I said it gently, Nolan still looked sad. His voice was low and heavy. I'm not trying to make you sick, I just feel nauseous. I turned to glance at him, trying to comfort him, and seeing his pitiful expression, I vomited again. Nolan quickly turned his back to me. Okay, I'll go out right now, if it'll make you feel better. I watched him leave the bathroom in the mirror, his posture looked so dejected. I wanted to comfort him, but damn this gastroenteritis. After I finished vomiting, I couldn't take it anymore. I dug through my things and found some medicine for my stomach that I hadn't taken in ages. I checked the expiration date, it was fine, and poured a glass of water to take it. Nolan stopped me. He was wearing a mask, so I couldn't see his face, but I could see his furrowed brows. Don't take that. I don't think it's gastroenteritis. I think you're pregnant. I thought he was joking. I laughed and scolded him. Are you kidding me? What the hell are you talking about right now? I feel terrible, let go of me. Nolan looked serious, pleading. I'm not joking, just trust me once, okay? Seeing the sincerity in his face, I stopped laughing. Nolan, you know I'm a guy, right? Even if you did it with me multiple times, I can't get pregnant. I don't have a uterus. Do you want me to grow one in my stomach? I know you're a guy. You don't have a uterus, but you're an Omega, you have a reproductive cavity. And his face turned red. And 2 months ago, during my sensitive period, I lost control and fully marked you. The timing matches perfectly, so you're definitely pregnant. 2 months ago, that was when Nolan had taken the wrong medicine, clung to me constantly, and cried if we were apart for more than half an hour, right? I remembered it clearly. He nearly killed me that time. I passed out halfway through. The next day, I woke up and chased him, pounding him, not exactly chasing to pound him. He stood there letting me hit him while I half collapsed on the bed. He apologized back then, saying he couldn't control himself during his sensitive period, and if a child came, we should just have it. At the time, I thought he was still playing some weird cosplay game. I sarcastically told him if I could actually give birth, I'd give him 10 kids. So those days, he was acting crazy from taking the wrong medicine, his sensitive period, as he called it. I had always thought Nolan's talk of alphas, omegas, heats, and sensitive periods were just his little fantasy added to our relationship for fun. I never expected he would take it so seriously. I was a little angry. Enough, you little brat. I don't want to play your little fantasies. I feel terrible, just give me the medicine. He didn't care about my discomfort at all. He was lost in his little fantasy world. He bit his lip, his beautiful eyes pleading. Just trust me once. Let's go to the hospital. Once we're there, you'll see I'm telling the truth. Seeing him like that softened my heart. This little brat always knows how to manipulate. Fine, we'll go to the hospital. But if you can't actually produce a kid, I'm going to beat you up. Checking at the hospital would be fine. Also a chance to get some new stomach medicine. The old stuff at home had been sitting for almost a year. Since meeting Nolan, I hadn't taken any. They looked okay, but better safe than sorry. And it would also crush this little brat's delusional fantasy. He was so eager to have me give him a child. Let's see that dream completely shattered. 2. Nolan was my kept boy. He was really good looking, his features so delicate it was like a master sculptor had carved them. Honestly, I picked him just for his face. Out of all the people throwing themselves at me, he was the one who caught my eye. I'm a CEO by profession. On TV, CEOs either spend their time in romances or chasing after their partners in dramatic crises. I never understood it. How can a CEO have so much free time for all that? Meanwhile, I work myself to the bone every day, going to bed later than a dog, waking earlier than a rooster, buried under endless documents, signing papers non-stop, and attending countless events. The time a TV CEO supposedly spends on romance? Zero. But they somehow get all the perks too. Headaches and stomach aches are small stuff, just tough it out. My biggest problem? Lack of sleep. Not that I don't have time to sleep, our company hasn't reached the point of depriving employees of sleep. Even as the busiest CEO, I still had at least 8 hours a day to rest, including meals and all other downtime. 8 hours was already a lot for me. After deducting time for meals and other activities, I could at least get 6 hours of actual sleep. Of course, if there were business events, that was another story. On nights with events, I could sleep until noon the next day, catching up on the morning. But that's only if I could actually fall asleep. As I said before, my problem wasn't the amount of sleep, I just couldn't sleep. The quality was terrible. Any little disturbance would wake me, or I'd lie in a half-conscious, half-asleep state. Even with sleeping pills, I rarely slept more than 3 hours straight. Before I met Nolan, I hadn't slept well for 3 straight days. The total hours of sleep barely added up to 5. My sanity was on the brink. My temples throbbed. I met him at a bar. In the crowd, I noticed him immediately. I chose him to be my drinking companion. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm gay. That day, I figured a little drinking might help me sleep longer. On a whim, I went to a quieter gay bar to have a drink. Nolan was a college student working part-time at the time. His family was ordinary. He supported himself through part-time jobs to cover college. Flipped the genders, and he's basically the heroine. Yeah, the male lead is me. The bar paid well. He said he was originally just a server, but that day, he saw me and fell for me at first sight, so he joined the host team. We hit it off immediately. I picked him to sit with me. I sat on the sofa, drinking half-heartedly. When he leaned closer, I smelled the scent of gardenias after the rain. I loved it. It was like being in a summer night garden, mixed with wet leaves and earthy soil. Instantly, my body and mind relaxed. Fatigue and endless sleepiness washed over me. I had him sit on the sofa, then lay down with my head on his legs. The scent of gardenias was sweet in every breath. I forced myself to keep my last bit of awareness and told him I needed a nap, asked him not to wake me, and promised I'd give him extra money when I woke up the next day. That's when I finally understood why TV CEOs go so crazy for women of humble origins, even willing to defy their families for them. If it were me, I wouldn't let go either. After all, for a CEO with sleep problems, who would say no to a walking sleeping pill? I slept for 10 hours straight, even though when I woke up, my phone was bombarded with calls from my secretary. Still, I felt amazing. So this is what it feels like to truly sleep until satisfied? Damn, what miserable days I had been living before. I didn't rush to the office. Even if I'm busy, I'm still the CEO. I don't need to punch a clock. Being late once or twice is nothing. I asked Nolan if he wanted to stay with me. I offered him $50,000 a month. He would be available whenever I wanted, no responsibilities, just sleep with me. Sleep, in the purest sense of the word. He agreed immediately, so readily that I hesitated for a second, wondering if I should offer more. After all, I had lowballed him. I'd seen other people pay tens or even hundreds of thousands a month to keep someone. Was $50,000 too little? I'd never kept anyone before, so I had no idea what the market was like. But as a capitalist, I offered the lowest fair price. His quick agreement made me feel a little guilty. He said it was enough. His monthly expenses were only $800, so $50,000 was a fortune for him. Plus, he added, it was just a different place to sleep. Okay, no wonder he took the part-time job. I commented on the nice scent of his cologne and asked where he bought it. He gave me a strange look and said he wasn't wearing any. Well, fine. I let it go. After all, it's his signature scent. He doesn't have to tell me. He probably thought that if he told me, I might just go buy it myself and stop needing him, then he wouldn't make any money. 3. I don't know what he was thinking, but honestly, I felt like I had spent money on a human-shaped body pillow, a sleeping pill, and a bottle of perfume. Every night when I got home from work, the soothing scent of gardenias filled the air. The whole apartment smelled exactly like Nolan. I'm usually not a fan of perfume, but this scent didn't bother me at all. Most of the time, when I got home, Nolan was already there, either on the sofa watching TV or playing video games. I had previously hired a housekeeper to cook and clean regularly. A few days after Nolan moved in, the housekeeper was out of a job. He said he'd cook for me and take care of the cleaning, and asked me to add the housekeeper's previous salary to the monthly allowance I gave him. I thought about it. Our housekeeper had mentioned wanting to retire and move back home to take care of her grandchildren, so I wouldn't have to worry about finding a replacement. I agreed to Nolan's arrangement. I paid the housekeeper 2 months' salary, and she happily returned home. It really felt like Nolan and I were living together. He was like a virtuous, diligent wife, coming home after work to prepare meals, keeping the house neat and tidy. And at night, he would let me cuddle him to sleep. Since I started sleeping properly again, I didn't work overtime as much. Every day, my favorite thing was rushing home, eating, showering, and going straight to bed, even though I didn't usually get home before 7 p.m. If I had business events, I would text Nolan ahead of time to let him know I wouldn't be home for dinner. That sounded more like I was reporting to a wife than a kept boy. Anyway, no matter what time I got home, Nolan was always there waiting for me, asking if I wanted to eat. If I did, he'd heat up food or make me a bowl of noodles. If not, I'd go straight to shower. Then he'd wait for me on the bed, playing on his phone until I came out. I'd collapse onto the soft mattress, or flop onto his legs and slowly adjust into a comfortable sleeping position. The faint scent of gardenias would lull me to sleep. Sometimes I was too tired to even blow dry my hair, and he would prop my head up by the bed, dry it halfway, and then climb in to cuddle me. I'm not sure if it was because I moved around a lot at night or what. Most nights, I'd hug him like a body pillow, or occasionally just lie straight and fall asleep. No matter how I slept, I always woke up in his arms the next morning. Who's really whose body pillow, anyway? Although this wasn't exactly the kind of dominant CEO wake-up routine you'd expect from me, I didn't mind. I was chill about it. If it was comfortable, I'd just go with it. Nolan looked slim, but he was actually quite tall. I'm 183 centimeters, a solid CEO height, and he wasn't short by any means, half a head taller than me. His presence wasn't as imposing as mine, though. My aura was 2 meters 8, while he was more like a delicate little flower. So in the end, I still won. Just like I loved the scent of gardenias on him, Nolan seemed to like the smell of me too. I have no idea what it was. I never wore perfume. His favorite thing was to sleep on top of me at night and inhale my scent. It made me feel like I was a cat and he was sniffing a cat. Because, seriously, a CEO shouldn't be imagining himself as a cat. If anything, he should be a big cat, a tiger. I asked him, "What are you sniffing?" Half dazed, he said, "You smell so good." How should I put it? That expression was kind of perverted. Did he react like this when I hugged him? Probably not. I still had some dignity as a CEO. It shouldn't be as over the top as what he was doing. 4. How did we go from just sharing a bed to, well, sharing more than that? It all started one night about 6 months ago. That evening, I had a business party to attend. I had already told Nolan that I wouldn't be home for dinner, so he didn't have to wait for me. When I told him that in the morning before leaving, his expression was strange, restless, hesitant. These past few days he'd been especially clingy. Not that he hadn't been before, but recently it was much more noticeable. Can you not go? His expression seemed like he wanted to say something but couldn't. I sensed he was holding something back, so I asked what was wrong. The scent on you today, it's a bit different, really strong. I think your time is coming, so, can you skip it? My time? I don't even get periods. I was more confused. His face flushed slightly. I couldn't make sense of what he was saying, so I told him the event was important. There were a few partners I needed to meet, so unless something urgent came up, I had to go. He frowned and let out a sigh. Then when you're done, call me. I'll come pick you up, okay? It was a reasonable request. Seeing him so troubled, worried, and unsure, I agreed and sent him the hotel address for that evening. I thought it was just a normal business engagement. I never expected the kind of plot you only read in novels to actually happen to me. I had been drugged. I didn't know by whom or when. By the time I realized what was happening, I was already in the bathroom. At first, I felt a sudden heat, and I thought I'd just drunk too much, so I went to wash my face. On the way, my vision started blurring. By the time I fumbled into the bathroom, I realized it wasn't the alcohol at all. A wave of heat exploded from my lower abdomen, and I stumbled toward the sink. 3 steps away, my knees buckled, and I slid down along the edge of the sink. Ugh! A whimper slipped from between my teeth, a hoarse, sticky sound, almost honeyed. Was that lewd noise really coming from me? When I tried to steady myself, my forearms shook violently, veins pulsing under my skin. The polished tiles seemed to spin, turning into countless ambiguous eyes staring at me. I realized I had been drugged. Alarm bells rang in my mind. Whoever did this could be right behind me, waiting for the perfect moment. I forced myself to stand and, with the last of my strength, locked myself into a stall. Then I collapsed onto the floor. Trembling, I pulled my phone out and dialed Nolan. It beeped once and was immediately answered. "Are you done? I'm right outside, you." My heavy, irregular breathing cut him off. He sensed something was wrong. What's happening? Why are you breathing so heavily? Ugh, I'm in the bathroom. I think I've been drugged. Come, please. I stammered out the words. Halfway through, I heard the phone line carry the sound of wind and rapid footsteps. My fingers shook so much I could barely hold the phone. What kind of drug was this? Why was it so strong? And I felt something leaking from me. My consciousness blurred as sweat ran down my cheeks, along my jawline to my neck, slipping beneath my collar. I ripped open my suit and shirt. Why was I burning up like this? Muffled, I heard Nolan's voice through the phone calling my name. I couldn't respond, just tugging desperately at my collar. It was unbearably hot. Where was Nolan? My head spun. A hollow emptiness consumed me from the inside out. I was in agony. Seconds felt like years. It seemed like a century had passed. Then I smelled it, a whiff of gardenias. At first faint, then growing stronger, moving closer, until finally, there was a loud kick on the door. I jolted awake, clearing my mind enough to lift my head. I couldn't see who it was, but I could smell Nolan, gardenias, his scent. Not the usual gentle scent, but aggressive, almost drowning me in it. Weston. I heard him call my name. Nolan? I gasped, calling back. It was his scent, but I needed to be sure. It's me. I'm here. He came forward and lifted me from the floor. I had no strength at all, barely able to stand, so I leaned completely on him. We faced each other in a close embrace. He supported me by the waist while my head rested on his shoulder. I think someone drugged me. I feel awful. Even my breath felt hot. Nolan's neck flushed red. His Adam's apple moved as he swallowed. You weren't drugged. Your heat is starting. I couldn't hear clearly what he said. He smelled so good. The scent of gardenias from his neck invaded my nose. I greedily inhaled it, like a little dog, nudging his neck to sniff. So fragrant. Really fragrant. But not enough. It wasn't enough. Something was missing. I didn't even know what, only that I wanted it. I quietly pleaded with Nolan, though I didn't even know what I wanted. His eyes darkened. His face was flushed, sweat dripping from his forehead. He looked restrained. I thought bitterly, it's me who's been drugged, not you. Why are you holding back? Don't rub. Behave. I'll give it to you. Give me what? Doesn't matter. Just make the pain go away. Faster. Ugh. I grabbed his shirt. He held me tightly, burying his face into my neck. The instant his warm breath touched my skin, I jolted, but he held me firmly. Don't move. His voice was hoarse. Then his lips touched the soft flesh at the back of my neck. Wait, you. The contact felt strange. I wanted to say something. A sudden sharp pain cut through me. I cried out. He bit my neck. It hurt so much. Was he a dog? I was probably bleeding. Before I could react, an intense, almost suffocating scent of gardenias hit me, followed by a sudden rush of pleasure. I was overwhelmed, biting my lip to stop myself from making a sound. My legs spasmed uncontrollably. Every attempt to close them triggered stronger tremors. Ugh, stop. It felt like my whole body had been washed over repeatedly. I couldn't handle the stimulation and choked out a whimper. I almost collapsed several times, but Nolan held me upright. Stand still. I weakly raised a hand to push him away. Enough. I tried to resist, but it was futile. He bit deeper. At the sting, the emptiness inside me felt briefly filled. Gradually, my consciousness cleared. I blinked slowly, staring at the ceiling lights in a daze. Nolan finally released me. I raised my hand to touch the back of my neck, checking the bite, wondering if I needed a rabies shot. What was wrong with him, biting people's necks? But somehow, it helped. The process was intense, but I had never felt such strange sensations before. Beyond the pain was comfort, and an overwhelming sense of satisfaction. Am I a masochist, feeling pleasure from being bitten? I started doubting myself. Nolan grabbed my hand as I reached backward. Don't touch. It'll hurt. I punched him lightly. You knew it would hurt and you still bit me, and so hard. Why did you bite me? I was drugged, and fine, you didn't take me to a hospital. But who bites someone in a bathroom? Even if it's necessary, it's not done like that. Are you trying to kill me? He looked a little guilty. You were incoherent just now. I had no choice but to give you a temporary mark. And a temporary mark isn't enough. It only lasts a while. There's no suppressant here. Without it, your heat won't pass. You wouldn't survive it. What was he mumbling? I couldn't understand a word. Heat? Temporary mark? Suppressant? Seeing my blank expression, Nolan stopped trying to explain and simply pulled me along. There isn't much time. Let's get home. Doing anything here is inconvenient. Get home. To do what? It didn't feel that urgent. I already felt much better. Was I drugged, or was he? Still, I didn't resist. I let him lead me to the car he had sent for me, because I felt that heat again. The emptiness surged back, stronger and more directed than before. I knew exactly what I wanted. The one giving off the strong gardenia scent, the human-shaped perfume bottle. Nolan. I wanted him. My vision blurred again. If it weren't for the seatbelt, I would have thrown myself onto him completely. By the time we got home, I was barely conscious. Nolan looked lean, but he was surprisingly strong. He picked me up directly, carried me inside, up the stairs, all in one motion. He laid me on the bed, restrained my wandering hands, and asked seriously, "Can I?" I didn't answer. I grabbed his collar, pulled his head down, and kissed him hard. Too much talking. This wasn't the time for hesitation. He responded almost immediately. When his hand moved inside, I suddenly remembered something and pushed him away. Wait, ugh, no lube. Going in dry would be dangerous. Before I could finish, he silenced me again. You don't need it. After that, my memory became fragmented. I only remember, do it, sleep, wake up, do it again. Sometimes starting again before I even woke, eat the meals Nolan had prepared at some point, then continue. From day to night, from bedroom to bathroom, from living room to kitchen. Sometimes awake, sometimes foggy. By the time I truly came to, I had no idea how long had passed. I woke from a deep sleep, fully conscious. Nolan was still next to me, holding me, sleeping peacefully. I fumbled for my phone and opened it. The sky seemed to collapse. I thought it was the next day, but it was already 4 days later. Gradually, my memory returned. 4 days. A full 4 days. Was that even humanly possible? I turned to look at Nolan, sleeping soundly. Suddenly, my kidneys hurt terribly. I tried to move, to push him away. Not moving was fine. Moving revealed the truth. My limbs, my waist, my stomach, my butt, every part of me hurt. From head to toe, heart to liver, lungs to kidneys, there wasn't a single spot without pain. Had I been run over by a truck? Was I still alive? Ugh, it hurts so much. Only being alive could feel this painful. I'd rather be dead. Living was worse than dying. Even my suffering couldn't wake Nolan. He slept on, unshakable. I started doubting. Had Nolan always slept this deeply? Usually, he woke early to prepare my breakfast because I skipped it out of habit. I never knew he could sleep this heavily. Could he really just be asleep? Not dead, right? Exhausted to death? Not impossible. Who can go non-stop for 4 days? Even a workhorse can't keep up that pace. Though unlikely, clearly the person beside me was warm and breathing steadily. Still, my brain ran wild with possibilities. I reached out to check Nolan's breath. My hand shook too much and brushed against his lips. He reacted, but didn't wake. Just nibbled my fingers a few times, tucked my hand into his embrace, and continued sleeping. Good. Not dead. After all, he'd helped me through the antidote. If something had gone wrong, tomorrow's headlines would be gruesome. Young man in Jinghai exhausted to death by benefactor, a tale of human depravity and moral collapse. I zoned out for a while, until my stomach growled. Hungry. Lying there wasn't a solution. I tried to get up, but my arms trembled like butterflies' wings and I collapsed again. The movement woke Nolan. He opened his eyes, still groggy. Instinctively, he wrapped me in his arms, pulling me close. Then his hands trailed down my back. Stop. Not again. I'd die on this bed if this kept up. I pushed him away. Stop. Don't do it again. He blinked slowly a few times before fully waking. His lips slightly parted, voice husky from just waking, like a cello. Wife, you're awake. Did he just call me wife? I didn't ask. Just nodded. Then, in my broken, hoarse voice, I said I was hungry. Why was he a cello and I a rusty bell? Oh well, laugh it off. He leaned down naturally to kiss my forehead, then got up and said he'd make breakfast. I just stared blankly. Hadn't we only just changed our relationship? How was he so naturally domestic, like a long-married couple? I shifted slightly. I felt refreshed, not sticky at all. He had cleaned me up. 5. In my mind, being with Nolan, I should have been the dominant one. I never expected not only to be on the receiving end, but to be so thoroughly overpowered that I couldn't even get out of bed. From that day on, Nolan and I went from being bed buddies to more than bed buddies. More than bed buddies. That phrasing sounds a bit awkward. It's more accurate to say that from that day, we were together. Our interactions were no different from any other couple. Although it differed a lot from what I had imagined, I had to admit, Nolan was an excellent dominant partner. Attentive, could cook, cleaned up after us, and had stamina to spare. Honestly, he was too much sometimes. I could barely keep up. And he had this strange habit of biting my neck. I didn't care much about positions, top or bottom, it didn't matter as long as it was comfortable. With Nolan, though different from what I'd pictured, I could accept it. He often talked about ABO stuff, which I didn't really understand, but I respected it. Young guys and their little games with partners, right? I went along for the fun, never taking it seriously. Until now. This time, I realized he was really getting carried away. We rode in silence until we reached a private hospital. He led me straight in, no registration, straight to a department I'd never heard of. ABO. Wait, is there really such a department? Half skeptical, I went through the process Nolan led me through, blood tests, exams, basically a full checkup. 2 hours later, we got the results and went to the doctor's office. Weston, right? The doctor looked at Nolan and me, then at the report in his hands. Male Omega. Your pheromone is cedar. Differentiation occurred less than a year ago. Based on CG data, you are indeed pregnant. I suggest an ultrasound. It hit me like a thunderclap. Pregnant, but I'm male. The doctor raised his glasses at my shocked expression. To clarify, you are a male Omega. While extremely rare, less than 1 in 10,000, it exists. And you're lucky to have found a highly compatible alpha. He gestured to Nolan, standing stiff as a soldier beside me. You've been pregnant for 2 months, and you didn't even realize you're an Omega? Haven't you sensed each other's pheromones before? And when he fully marked you, you should have felt something. Pheromones? That's Nolan's gardenia scent. I always thought it was just perfume. And a full mark. That must be what happened when I passed out after that time. How was I supposed to know about a full mark? Seeing my blank face, the doctor sighed, turning to Nolan. And you, Alpha, you didn't know either. Didn't warn him. Pregnancy affects fetal health, you know. Nolan looked guilty, apologetic, nodding and murmuring excuses. I couldn't watch him grovel like that to others. I defended him. He did say something, but I didn't listen. Sorry, doctor, could you explain this ABO thing to me in detail? The doctor looked at me like I had a romantic obsession, handed me a handbook on ABO basics, and gave a referral for an ultrasound to check on the baby's development. While I was still in shock, Nolan took the referral and led me out. On the way to the ultrasound room, I glanced at the ABO handbook. It explained, in 2035, the first case of a male Omega pregnancy was discovered. 3 years later, experts categorized humans into Alpha, Omega, and Beta. Alphas are natural leaders, stronger, more perceptive, and combative. They emit powerful, aggressive pheromones, capable of dominating others and strongly attracting Omegas. During sensitive physiological periods, their desires are intense and possessive. Omegas are generally gentler, beautiful, and highly fertile. Their sweet pheromones attract alphas and can suit them but also risk triggering loss of control. Both genders have reproductive cavities and fertility. Omegas experience heat periodically, seeking marking and mating, with pheromone levels peaking to attract alphas. Betas are like ordinary humans, with faint pheromones, no sensitive periods or heat, and low fertility, so they're rarely noticed. All three have glands, usually in a small patch on the back of the neck. A temporary mark is when an alpha bites the Omega's gland, briefly injecting pheromones to partially ease heat. A full mark is more extensive. Most identified ABO individuals are alpha or Omega. Less than 1 in 100,000 people worldwide have ABO traits. A male Omega falling for a male alpha is 1 in 10 million. Also in 2035, same-sex marriage was officially legalized. I skimmed the handbook, feeling my worldview upend. Am I still living in the 21st century? Did I somehow travel to another world? Even entering the ultrasound room didn't make it feel real. The doctor applied cold gel to my stomach and moved the device across it. Look, a very healthy little baby. Developing nicely. I stared at the screen, seeing something the size of a grape, completely unable to tell it was a developing fetus. But, this was the baby? If I didn't know better, I'd have thought it was a tumor. Even back home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Sure, I joked about giving Nolan 10 kids in bed, but that was just fantasy talk. Who takes a man's bedroom jokes seriously? Now there was a real one, and I was completely stunned. Good news, my mom doesn't need to worry about my lineage. Bad news, her dream of a daughter-in-law just became a son-in-law. Nolan called my name several times, saying something, but I didn't hear a word. My mind was consumed with, am I dreaming? I'm male. How am I pregnant? Was I still asleep? By the time I came to, Nolan's mask was soaked with tears. His lower face was covered, hat on, eyes red from crying. He wanted to touch me but feared I'd vomit. He spoke, but I didn't hear. I was lost in my own world, ignoring him completely. Only his eyes were visible, looking at me pitifully. Woo, you don't want this child, do you? Woo, why are you crying? I'm the one pregnant, not you. And I haven't cried at all. I looked at him speechlessly. He stared back at me, eyes brimming with tears. It was the kind of look that said if I said I didn't want the child, he'd cry himself to death right in front of me. I felt a mix of love and frustration. Frustration that he, the mastermind behind this mess, had marked me and caused all of this. And love, for the way he looked, sorrowful and delicate, tears streaking his face. No wonder he was a pretty boy, even crying, he looked so beautiful, but maybe a little too good at it. I thought alphas were supposed to be aggressive, dominating. What was he doing like this? If he were truly aggressive and demanding the child, I would have resisted, absolutely no way. But seeing him like this, helpless and pitiful, left me flustered. I had a soft spot for him. Nolan really knew how to handle me. I didn't know how to respond at first. Seeing him cry like this wasn't helping, so I decided to wipe his tears. The moment my hand touched his face, I vomited. Nolan cried even louder. He backed away, curling up in the corner, a large bundle of vulnerability. I couldn't help but feel sorry, but I really couldn't stop. I just wanted to throw up. And Nolan had never cried like this before, even when being affectionate or playful. Remembering what I'd read in the book, I suspected he was experiencing another sensitive period. Sure enough, after I finished vomiting, Nolan had disappeared. I went to the second bedroom. He'd wrapped himself in a heap of my clothes, my pajamas, my bath towel on his head. When he saw me, he immediately covered his face with a small cloth. I squinted at it and froze. Wait, that's my underwear? He was using my underwear as a mask. I covered my face with my hand in disbelief. I knew that during an alpha's sensitive period, if they can't reach their partner, they might build a nest with their partner's clothing. But this was a little extreme. I thought about saying something, but considering his sensitive period, I let it slide. You're staying here, not going back to your room? His eyes brightened for a moment, then dimmed. I want to, but you'll throw up. His tears, just barely stopped, began to fall again. I suppressed the churning in my stomach. It's okay, I can manage. Just wear the mask. Besides, didn't the doctor say they also need your pheromones? He muttered, really? This might not be good. Too much effort for you, while quickly getting into our bedroom and lying down, patting the other side of the bed to signal me to come sleep. I tried to ignore the underwear mask situation and, drawn by his sparkling eyes, lay down beside him. Ugh, too close. I still felt like vomiting. I scrambled to the bathroom to be sick. Peeking at the bathroom entrance, I saw him, wrapped tightly in my coat, crouched outside, only his tearful eyes visible. He looked worried and guilty, hesitant to come closer and pat my back. Once I finished, he finally sobbed softly, woo. I'll sleep in the other room. I'm sorry. I couldn't let him stay. I just didn't want to throw up again. He reluctantly went to the second bedroom, taking my pajamas, socks, underwear, blanket, even my toothbrush from the bathroom. He reminded me, take care of yourself while I'm gone. Don't kick the blanket off, call me if you miss me. I'll leave my clothes here, you can use them anytime. Wait, you're going next door, not overseas. And who wants your socks and underwear? Do you think I'm as weird as you? I thought about protesting but didn't dare. Nolan might cry again. I smiled faintly, sent him off to the second bedroom, then collapsed onto the soft bed in the main room. I thought, finally, I could sleep without interruption. But I forgot. I had always been the type of CEO who slept poorly. Nolan was my sleeping aid. Even knowing my good sleep depended on the soothing of his pheromones, now that he was gone. Insomnia. I was exhausted but couldn't sleep. That little rascal had taken our blanket. The new blanket had no trace of Nolan's scent. A faint whiff of gardenia still lingered in my nose. I glanced at the source I had tossed in the corner. Nolan's underwear. My vision went black. I forced myself to sleep. Half an hour later, I pulled the gray cloth from under the pillow, letting it air out. Being under the pillow, the scent was undetectable. Exposed, it was much better. With his pheromones, I could finally rest a little, but sleep remained restless, like something was missing. No matter what, leftover pheromones couldn't compare to sleeping beside him. From luxury to frugality is easy, from frugality to luxury is hard. This damn morning sickness, when would it end? Did I have to endure 8 more months without Nolan beside me? Damn it, this child, I can't do this. I absolutely, definitely can't go 8 months without sleeping next to Nolan. He probably couldn't either. I confirmed this the next morning when I saw Nolan's dark under eyes. He hadn't slept well either. I ate breakfast slowly at the table, occasionally glancing back at Nolan, who hid in the kitchen, eyes red and swollen. He must have cried all night. TSK. This couldn't continue. The book said alphas are extra sensitive and insecure during their sensitive periods. Last time I saw Nolan's clinginess during his period, but this time, I was the one dealing with morning sickness, so he couldn't cling. He was more sensitive and fragile than ever. If he kept crying like this, his eyes would swell shut. I felt for him. I'd never seen him cry like this before. A man, a CEO, and his partner crying like this while I could do nothing. It was utterly humiliating. I finished breakfast and went to change clothes, getting ready to head out. I was trying to decide which shirt would be suitable. Nolan peeked from the doorway, wrapped up so only his eyes were visible. In a muffled voice, he asked, "Going to the office today? Maybe take a day off?" He looked really worried. I was tying my tie in the mirror, shook my head without looking at him, and casually dropped a bomb as if I were commenting on the nice weather. "Not going to the office today. Today we're going to the civil affairs office. Change your clothes and bring your ID." Nolan's eyes widened, and he straightened up quickly. The tiny head, still wrapped in layers, bumped against the doorframe with a thud. He yelped, completely ignoring the bump, stammering as he looked at me. "See Civil Affairs Office, W.E. Civil Affairs Office." I worried about his head and tried to approach, but Nolan backed away quickly, afraid I might throw up again. I sighed. "Go change your clothes quickly. If we leave now, there's no need to wait in line." Tears welled up in his eyes again. But, won't you throw up?" I looked at him affectionately. "Yes, but I can hold it for the certificate. The wedding photos and banquet will have to wait. If you don't want to get the certificate, that's fine too." Before I could finish, he interrupted. I want it. I'll go change now." His headache seemed gone, tears stopped flowing, and he dashed off to change. In less than 2 minutes, he was ready. On the way, his mood oscillated from excitement to nervousness, and he nearly started crying again. I had to scold him, warning that if he cried again, there would be no certificate. Only then did he manage to suppress the sobs, though his eyes remained red and swollen. At the office, the staff noticed his red eyes and repeatedly asked if he was willingly getting married. He answered yes 3 times before they finally processed our registration. Even though he had pre-prepared lemonade to ease my nausea before the photo, my face was still pale as a sheet. The result, on our marriage certificate, one of us had red, swollen eyes from crying, the other looked like he was holding back a storm. Anyone seeing it might think we were forced into marriage. I had firmly decided not to post such an ugly photo online. But Nolan's face, teary and pitiful, made it impossible for me to resist. I thought, this was a flaw. It had to be fixed. When my friends teased that Nolan got his way by crying, I couldn't help but defend him. No, he was actually very good, handsome, considerate, obedient, and well-behaved. My friends said I was hopelessly romantic. I disagreed. Spoiling your spouse isn't romantic brain, it's just caring. Even after we got married, I still wasn't keen on having this child. After being a man for 30 years, even as a gay man, I couldn't accept being pregnant. I could accept being the bottom, but pregnancy and childbirth, absolutely not. Most importantly, the morning sickness was infuriating. Getting married was part of my plan. The timing just coincidentally coincided with Nolan's sensitive period. To calm him, I moved the plan up. But this child was not in my plan. I debated terminating the pregnancy, and Nolan found out. That time, he cried for 3 days straight. Nothing I did could console him. Even my mother said, "Don't be too hard on him." In her eyes, I, almost 30, had kidnapped and seduced a 20-year-old pure young man. He didn't forbid me from ending the pregnancy, he just cried. I had no choice. Fine. We'd have the child. People must face the consequences of what they say. Fortunately, the morning sickness lasted only 2 months. Nolan also stayed in the second bedroom for just 2 months. I didn't lose weight, but Nolan lost 10 pounds. Later, I learned why I could sleep soundly afterward. Nolan had gone to the hospital, collected his pheromones, and made them into a scent that he lit daily in my room. That way, I could smell him whenever I needed him, even during my morning sickness. During those 2 months, he hadn't been much better off. He had to sneak around to take care of me, careful not to be seen. Only at night, when I fell asleep, could he quietly slip into the main bedroom and take a few deep sniffs. One night, I woke up mid-sniffing, feeling someone brushing against me. I thought it was a cat, then remembered I didn't have one. Smelling that familiar gardenia scent, I realized it was Nolan. Ha! I didn't throw up. I blinked, startling him. Even married, he was still sneaking around like this. He tried to crawl away, but I grabbed him. "Don't go. I think I'm not going to throw up anymore." Nolan froze, unsure if he could believe me. After a pause, seeing I wasn't showing any nausea, he immediately hugged me, burying his face in my neck and trembling. I thought he was sniffing me, but his warmth and wetness on my shoulder revealed otherwise. Great, crying again. I patted his back to soothe him. He cried even harder. Woo woo, I haven't held you like this in so long. He hugged me tighter, pressing his face into the back of my neck, nudging and nuzzling. I was already hungry from pregnancy and 2 months of restraint. He licked my gland, and I couldn't help but weaken. Nolan had been holding back just as fiercely. Dry tinder meeting a raging fire, it ignited immediately. I was completely dazed, but he took care around my belly, moving more gently. I appreciated this softer approach, but Nolan had developed a new bad habit. He liked to suck on me. I warned him not to overdo it. No matter how much he tried, I wouldn't give in. He seemed a little disappointed, but a firm smack set him straight. 4 months later, I had been working from home, telling everyone I was on my honeymoon. Half a year passed, and I brought a child home. My mom was shocked. She thought I'd had a child with someone else. She was pleased with the child but felt guilty toward Nolan at the same time. What could I do except endure a little scolding from her? I certainly couldn't tell her the child was born from her son. My mom was too old to handle that kind of shock. After I gave birth, Nolan got sterilized. Once he graduated, he stayed home full-time to raise the child, spending his free time writing novels. I gave him all my cards, so he didn't have to work at all. I could support him. He teased me, calling me a male chauvinist. I had no words. I even set up a branch of a novel website just to promote him. One word, spoiled. 6 months later, I stepped back into the office. I noticed my secretary had lost half his hair. When he saw me, it was like seeing the light. Bless him, truly. I doubled his salary. His expression brightened, his posture straightened, and work no longer seemed exhausting. Nolan's novels became popular, and I arranged book signings and physical releases for him. The theme, a husband who dotes on his spouse relentlessly. Never mind who the spouse was, just say he spoiled them. The ABO gender theory was officially released when Carter was 5 years old. My mom looked at Carter, who increasingly resembled Nolan, and shot me a suspicious glance. I sat upright, maintaining composure. She glanced at Nolan cooking in the kitchen and quietly asked me, "He's an Omega, so this child, he gave birth to him for you?" Yes, exactly. My mom looked even more satisfied with Nolan. She patted his shoulder, praising him as a good boy and suggesting he should have a few more. I quickly stopped her. No more. One is enough.